got another guest on tonight, man. This sister I have known for probably over 20 years. Dynamic sister, man. A life coach. She's an author. She's a mother. She's a do-it-all type of woman, man. I love this woman to death. Without further ado, Jamie, let's bring our sister in, Cassandra Mack.
Hello.
There you go, there, Cassandra. What's up, boo? What's up? How you doing, love?
How you doing?
How are you all doing? Thank you for having me on the show. I am excited and delighted to be here.
That's what's up.
And we're happy to have you.
Yeah. Cassandra's got that good energy, man.
Fantastic sweatshirt, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, too blessed to be petty. You got
That's
to
right.
find yourself in the petty. Too blessed to be petty.
That's right. That's right.
I wish more people would think about that because this is a petty ass. I mean, almost cursed. Sandra, I'm you know me. I got a dirty mouth, but I'm gonna be a gentleman around the lady.
Yes.
But a lot of petty people out here right now.
Be nice, D.
I am. I'm being nice.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. I was looking at some of the testimonials people were saying today about your book and about how you've changed their lives. And one of the themes that I saw a lot was people saying you taught them how to love themselves. And that is so interesting to see. It seems like there's a lot of people that don't have affirmation growing up, and it's not there. How do you speak to that? And is that something that you're seeing more now than ever with the advent of maybe social media and the way people are presenting their lifestyles online?
Absolutely. Because so many people confuse self-pampering with self-love. I got my hair done, I got my nails did, I got everything did, but that has nothing to do with how you feel on the inside. And social media can make us believe that who we are is not enough. If you don't drive the particular car, you don't have the right house, you don't have enough zeros in your bank account, that who you are is not enough. And so self-love really starts with understanding that you have a purpose, that you have something to contribute to society, that you have gifts. And when that's the starting point for self-love, then you can begin to build blocks, build self-esteem, build confidence, build self-worth. But it starts with really knowing your purpose.
Absolutely.
That's great. I agree 100% with that. I love your energy, Miss Mack. I want to know if you can give me some advice, right? Because I got a friend of mine, right? He tends to wear a Yankee hat sometimes. He's got a blue shirt. And sometimes, you can't always be like high energy, constantly positive. And there's times where you run into people and you feel you really need to get at what. But how would you give a person like that advice about maintaining their cool?
It's so interesting because sometimes people could test the limits of your patience and work your last good nerve.
There you go.
And we're living in a society where a lot of people are unhinged.
Yes.
And you got to think to yourself, as bad as you think you are, there's always somebody that's a little bit better than you.
Got you.
And I think it starts with asking yourself, what do I have to lose? Is it worth it in this moment for me to give this person my energy? Maybe somebody says something disrespectful at the job. Maybe somebody says something disrespectful on the bus or the train. They bumped into you. They didn't say, excuse me. But then you got to ask yourself, I want to make it home to my family. I got something to live for. I got things to lose. And I have to pick and choose my battles because everybody's not in the right state of mind. And so I really think it comes down to knowing that everybody ain't worth your sweat.
Yeah.
Got you.
You know what,
Miss Mack? Thank you.
And
I'm gonna tell my friend. I'm gonna tell my friend what you said.
There you go.
I'm sexing a little something here.
Yeah, okay.
Miss Mack, you know what? You again, your energy is fantastic. It's amazing. We're coming out of the pandemic. I don't know if we're coming out of it or what we're doing with it right now. But you alluded to social media. Everybody's on. I think because of that, we all kind of had to gravitate eyeballs to Facebook or Instagram or whatever we got, and we see these people living these amazing lives. You know what I mean? We're comparing ourselves to this person and to that person and everything, and maybe you're feeling some kind of way. What can we do to get out of a rut or anything like that? Because some of us might be like, okay, And I've even been guilty of it myself, thinking, damn, they got to go. What am I doing? I got to do something. I got to switch it up, but how can I get out of it? How can I supercharge my life or something to get started in a different direction? What are some things that I can do, like say right now, more actionable, to make a little change within myself,
That's a really great question. Two things. Number one, understand that on social media, people post their highlights, not their lowlights. So you will see the pictures of the beautiful wedding, but what you don't see is the credit card bill that comes with that wedding.
Correct.
You will see the beautiful pictures of the vacation, but what you don't see is all the debt that you are now having to pay for this vacation. And so it's important to understand that most people are fronting. And most people are posting their highlights, but not their lowlights. So you don't see the infidelities. You don't see all the things that go on behind the scenes. So it's important to take that in stride. That's number one. Number two, change one thing. So if you are stuck in a rut, one thing. It could be something as simple as today I'm going to make a meal. Today, I'm going to take a bubble bath. Today, I'm going to go outside, go for a walk. I'm going to appreciate nature. Today, I'm going to get my favorite playlist and I'm going to dance and I'm going to listen to the old school jams like nobody's watching. So changing one thing, because when you're in a rut, you're stuck and you need something to interrupt the pattern. So two things. Number one, most people are fake on social media. It ain't really what it is. And number two, change one thing.
Because Sandra, I've known you for a long time. Like, we coming out of this pandemic, people got to get back into this workplace. Now, companies have changed, policies have changed, but how do you get wellness back in the workplace? Is it up to the employee to try to get their own wellness, or does the company need to help out with getting like the wellness? Like, can you talk a little bit on that? How to get that back into the
I think it's a combination of both. And it's funny that you say that because I have a book on that called Master Your Mind, Mood, and Attitude.
Yes. And I was going to see that. I was going to say C chapter, but when you said it changed, it was like a few things, but go ahead.
And so I think it's incumbent on both. So it's the workplace understanding that when your workers feel respected, when they feel good about themselves, when they feel mentally well, then they're going to produce at a higher level. But at the same time, for each individual, is understanding that when you show up as your best and brightest self, when you pick and choose your battles, when you understand that everything ain't worth your time, your attention, and your sweat, you were better able to show up at the workplace well. Here's the other piece. It's important to understand that a global pandemic is a global trauma. And so many people are still traumatized and coming off trauma. Life as we've known it has been unpinned. When you look at the mass shootings, everything going on in our world, there is no way that you can take that stuff in day out, day in and not be affected by it. And so part of it is making sure that you do simple things, taking your breaks at work, taking your full hour lunch, taking all of your vacation time if you're actually going into the workplace. If you have haters on the job, understanding that you can't give haters your energy. So those are things that you do individually. And then the supervisor and upper management, perhaps having some training and some wellness days for people to just have a woosah moment and kind of breathe.
So like corporations, they say they want to do all this for their place. When people like the Great Resignation, have corporations, I know you go to speak to a lot of corporations. When you talk to my organization, we bet over 20 something years ago. So how do corporations really do you go back and revisit? Do they really take heed to what people are saying? Like, especially in this time, people are really trying to work on their mental. Are they really thinking about this wellness, how to get better production? Are they taking heed to what you're telling them and what their staff are telling them? Have you seen any results or any data on that?
Some do and some don't, like anything else. So you have some corporations that are fully invested because they understand in order to serve their clients, meet their bottom line, that you need employees who are functioning at a high level of productivity, who are coming to the workplace stable, emotionally regulated, and in a good mood. But then there are other employees who don't always see the benefit. And so I think that it really is a case in point by each organization.
Let me ask you this question. As a person who's not only a minister, but a motivator and a life coach, what is the constant theme that you see of a lot of clients? Is it that they can't identify greatness or potential in themselves? What do they usually come to you for? What are they looking for when they come and contact you? What do you find across the board that people contact you for most?
I think across the board, you hit it on the nail. not recognizing that we all have greatness. And if you've come from a family that made you believe that who you are is not enough, give you a quick scenario. I used to work in foster care, and we had some amazing, amazing young people who were so smart, so talented. And because they were made to believe that they weren't wanted, that who they were wasn't enough, and they suffered horrific trauma, oftentimes, even when they would have opportunities, we would get them into the college, we would set them up on the job interview, they would self-sabotage. Not because they didn't have the potential, not because they weren't great, not because they weren't smart, but because they didn't believe in themselves. So I think even more so than greatness, even though that's a big piece of it, it's confidence. It's really believing that who you are is enough. It is believing that you deserve to be in the rooms that you enter. It is believing that when people won't give you a place at the table, go ahead and create your own. But you have to begin building up your confidence, and that attaches to your purpose.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, I have this theory, and I want to see what you think of it. So, I give this example that I always say that the chef doesn't eat, the chef starves. So the person that serves the meal is the last to eat. So while you're pouring out to people, and what do you do? Where's your figuratively your Mount of Olives? Where's that place of retreat for you? How do you come and recover after pouring out?
Oh, that's a really great question. I believe in pouring from my overflow and never from my reserves. If you think about what happens on an airplane when the flight attendant comes out and the flight attendant says, in the event of an emergency, when the masks come down, if you're traveling with a small child, put your own mask on first. As a parent, that sounds counterintuitive, right? Because you want to save your child. But the bottom, top, and middle line is, if you die, you can't be there to save your child. And so what I do is I make sure that I'm full before I even start my day. For me, that's prayer, that's affirmations, that's just getting quiet, still in nature. It might be journaling, but I believe that you give from your overflow and never from your reserves. Your reserves are just for you. You'll burn out.
Point. Excellent point. Excellent point.
Cassandra, my producer Jamie, when he asked you this question, do you feel that Black people don't focus enough on wellness compared to others?
I think that oftentimes in our community, sometimes we confuse self-pampering with wellness and self-care. And so we'll say things like, I went to the concert, I got my hair and my nails done. And those are things to beautify the outside and make you, feel good on the outside. But you got to plug into yourself. And so I think it's languaging. We focus on the self-pampering, but we don't focus on the mental well-being. But I think that's changing. The more that we have conversations like this, the more that we have conversations around just staying well, I think slowly but surely it's changing.
Cassandra has a lot of books. I just want to bring up one more book that she has. I got here. This one here. It says from the block to the boardroom. Like a lot of brothers have changed their career in the last few since the pandemic. I know a lot of brothers taking charge, like they're entrepreneurs and stuff like that. So, but young brother coming in right now, say a young brother coming out of being incarcerated or whatever like that off the block, what would you tell him first thing to do about how, like, what would you want him to how to present himself, not present himself, but what you think he should really do with working on himself, trying to get into this corporate world and stuff like that? Like any kind of advice on him, like how to perform, how to be mentally?
That's a really good question. What's important to understand for a lot of our young kids who get caught up in the system is that the concrete jungle ain't that different from the street jungle. And so the same skills that you use illegitimately, you can flip those skills and use them in the legitimate marketplace. So it's understanding that you do have what it takes, that you have an area of genius. If you understand how to mix X amount of cocaine with X amount of this, you are technically a mathematician. And so you understand if you were running the corner block and you have workers working for you, you understand time management. You understand getting your product out there. And so now it's about believing in yourself to say, I don't want to live that way anymore because it only leads to prison or death. And so I can use these same skills. I'm smart. I got purpose. I just have to figure it out. And using these same skills, I can go in the legitimate marketplace. So I think it really is looking at what am I good at? And I'll hear a lot of young people, particularly those who have been incarcerated, say, well, I'm not good at anything. No, you're good at something. You do something. Even if you have the gift of gab, you know how to read the room. There's people that will pay you to read the room as a consultant. And so it's really looking at the skills that they might not have the language to say that this is a transferable workplace skill and pulling that out.
How do you first go ahead, Kelvin. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to just ask this question. So tell us a little bit about how you either received your call into ministry or how you knew that you just wanted to help people. What was that moment in your life that was kind of that transformative moment?
Well, I started as a social worker. So I started as a social worker, working in community services, working on the Lower East Side, the same neighborhood I grew up. I worked in a housing development, working with teenagers. And so I always felt a calling to help people. And then I slowly but surely graduated spiritually, so to speak, into wanting to really help people see how Bible stories relate to everyday life, helping people navigate life with wisdom and grace. But it was always in me to want to help people. And then over time, it graduated into helping people spiritually.
So I want to see, like, Black people trying to get into meditation, right? Stuff like that. Well, trying to. Some people look at it like, oh, that's some BS. Almost cursed. See, you got me changing my life right now. See, yeah, I'm already changed. I'm trying to change my life. But no, I met Giancarlo Esposito two times. I did a meditation session with him, and he was trying to change young people, how to teach them how to meditate. How do you get people to rest their mind? I think a lot of people don't understand about the power of resting your mind. What would we tell people the first steps of resting their mind?
Well, there's a scripture that says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? And so what that scripture is letting you know is that the only way that you can change your life is that you have to think a new way. And so the way that you start resting your mind is that you start looking at the beliefs that make you feel bad, that make you feel like you don't have any power, that make you feel that undermine your confidence. And then you start challenging those beliefs. And so I think that would be step one, to begin to rest your mind, to begin meditating, understanding that you have the power to change your inner narrative. You have the power to change the way that you think.
Mm-hmm. So I got another book I'm going to promote for too. Can y'all see it? I don't know if everybody can see it.
Say the title, D.
Simple prayers to pray when you don't know what to say. Simple prayers to pray when you don't know what to say.
Can you tell us about this book real quick?
Yeah, actually,
tell us where we can find it too.
Absolutely. So you can find all of my books on Amazon.com or on my website, CassandraMackMinistries.com. Simple prayers to pray when you don't know what to say actually came out of, I have a church by phone service. So every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, people can call in and they can go to church by phone.
What's the number? What's the number?
They can go to CassandraMackMinistries.com, and from there they can get the number and the access code to call into the church by phone service. And so what we do at the end of the service is we have a prayer request segment and people request prayer. And what started happening is we were getting so many prayer requests, I couldn't keep up with it. So I said, let me write a book to teach people how to tap into the power of prayer. Because prayer is not only a spiritual conversation, but it helps you to get clear. Think about how you charge your cell phone, right? The reason we charge our cell phone is why? Why do we charge our cell phone?
So
it can operate at maximum capacity. And so when we plug in to the Creator through prayer, we are allowing ourselves to operate at maximum capacity. We're getting clear, we're getting guidance, we're beginning to think about our goals and our dreams. And so there's a clarity that comes, and I'm not even talking about a religious act. There's a clarity that comes when you plug into the power of prayer. And so I wrote the book to basically teach people how to pray like a child, that it doesn't have to be these long, verbose prayers, that you could take 3 minutes at the start of your day to get yourself empowered and pumped up so that you're ready for whatever comes your way. There's so much craziness in this world. So you want to have presence of mind. You want to be able to be calm under pressure. You want to be able to sidestep a lot of the drama and the petty. And when you plug into your power source, you are internally empowered to be able to bob and weave things that don't need your attention and to focus on the things that fuel your purpose.
So I'm glad to calling in. I don't have to, there's no building fund, right? I'll join this church. No building fund. When is the bingo night?
I'm not fooling with you.
No fish fries, nothing like that.
I'm not fooling with you. So
Be nice, D. Be nice.
We offer some really amazing things, but everything now is on social media. And the beauty of this is we are serving people through our church by phone service who ordinarily would not come to church. And so we have people who have been in and out of jail. We have strippers who come to church.
Hey, I might be in this place.
We open our doors to everybody. And the beautiful thing about church by phone is because people can't see each other, there's that level of safety that people can say, you know, we have brothers that call and they say, I'm struggling with smoking weed every day. And we pray for them because they feel comfortable enough, because it's that type of atmosphere where we're like, it's God's job to judge, the Holy Spirit's job to convict, and man's job just to love people.
That's beautiful.
Well said.
I think we all need. I think people need these rooms now where they could be like honest and vulnerable. I think that's the biggest thing with Black people scared to be. They not to be vulnerable is a strength that Black people really don't understand that what it means, given that vulnerability. They don't understand it. And I think I praise you for those kind of rooms, that you created these kind of rooms for folks like us. That look just like
you know what? You just said something that's so key. Absolutely, because vulnerability to me means I'm strong enough not to care what you think. Mm-hmm. I'm strong enough to be transparent, but not just transparent for the sake of having diarrhea of the mouth. Mm-hmm. I am strong enough to be transparent, share my story, tell my story, say I'm not okay when I'm not okay. And I give no credence, no power, not a care in the world, whether you like me, accept me, because I don't need your validation. That's true. That's true transparency and vulnerability.
Good point. Very good point. That is the truth. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
So my thing was like, if you life coach, you can life coach young people. And I think like young people now that got to get back into this workspace. How do you tell them to deal with some of the stuff they probably never faced before? Real adult conversations in the workplace. Like, how do you get them to get their piece? Because young people, we both work with young people. We know how they go. They feel disrespected or anything, they going off the hook. How do you tell them? We've been doing this for a long time. So how do you get them to like understand, like, somebody taking your piece and not letting nobody take your piece? What do you say when they first come across these conversations with older people, first job or whatever?
That you trying to get the bag. That's number one. You trying to get the bag, and your ego cannot pay your bills. It can't keep the lights on. It can't keep T-Mobile working. And so you are going to have to pick and choose your battles, and you're going to have to learn to ignore the petty. What works in the streets is your survival skills in the streets, but you got to be able to adapt. And so once you're in this new environment, you got to adapt. You got to know when to shake stuff off, and everything doesn't merit. And we always talk about, counting to 5. If somebody says something to you, ask the question, are they trying to trigger me? Let me count to 5. Why am I going to give them my power? Or maybe they're not trying to trigger me. Am I taking this too personal? And they're right. I need to get back to work.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, I'm trying to think. Oh man, I lost my train of thought. Somebody else ago, I just lost my train of thought. I should have. I was going to write it down, and I forgot my focus.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Dave. So let me ask you this question. So right now, and you obviously ministering into the 21st century church, which is a lot different. It's a lot different, from the 90s, the things that you have to deal with today.
Cal was a pastor too. Just want to tell you.
So well, I started in ministry when I was 16 years old. So I've seen the actual change in people, because now everything from culture to music, those things have changed basically how we view things. So what has been the adjustment that you've had to make dealing with, going from one generation to another? Because today's 18-year-old is a lot different than we were at 18 years old. So what do you have to do now to almost have that one-stop shopping when it comes to ministering? So I always said, again, with the chef reference, you got one chef and you got to make meals for different people. And so how are you able and capable of doing that?
I think that at Cassandra Mack Ministries, I'm in a really unique and blessed position in that when I started church by phone, that was a novel concept. And when I spoke to other people, they were like, that's not a real church. How are you doing church by phone? That's not a real church. And so we started out being out of the box. We were giving flyers out at clubs. And so we started out of the box. And it was just like, get people on the phone in a place where they can learn how to be all they can be through Christ. And we don't believe in religion. We believe in relationship. And so that is the starting point, that we're really teaching people, how do you self-actualize through the teachings of Christ so that you can unlock the kingdom within, that inside of you, you have a kingdom, you have a spiritual and psychological mechanism that allows you to have peace, that allows you to have joy independent of the chaos, that allows you to have prosperity, but you got to tap into that peace that surpasses all understanding, and you got to tap into that kingdom within. And so I think because we use Bible stories, but then we correlate it to today, right? Because we correlate the Bible stories to today, it makes sense to a person who's never stepped foot in the church.
The simplicity is definitely necessary. I mean, I think one thing I love about you and appreciate about you, you know who you are. Because there's so oftentimes that people actually get lost in what they do and they forget who they are. And that's so important. And if you do that, then you're not relatable. People can see right through that, especially young people. Young people they believe in transparency. So if they get the idea that somebody's not authentic, they tune them out immediately. And I think you do have this glow, as my partners here mentioned from the onset. There's something about you that is really compelling.
And thank you for that. And the key piece is that we believe in just being yourself. We believe in accepting people as they are, because when you think about how Jesus ministered, right? And I think about the story of the woman at the well. And so the woman at the well was waiting at the well, and she'd been around the block, so to speak. And when Jesus ministered to her, he didn't say, well, you low down hoe who've been around the block. He didn't talk to people like that. You know, he was like, if you knew who I was, you would thirst for this water. When the woman was caught in the act of adultery, and the Pharisees, the fake people, were ready to throw stones, the fake religious people were ready to throw stones, he was like, hold up, wait a minute. Ain't none of y'all got a clean slate. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of it. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. And so when you look at how he preached to people, and Jesus was about it. Like when I hear people talk about Jesus, I'm like, what Jesus are you talking about? Like, this is Jesus who would turn over money tables. This is Jesus who told Peter and them to go get your whip, strap up. We about to be about it.
Jesus was Suge Knight.
No, Jesus. People don't know that Jesus was a thug. Jesus was a thug.
He wasn't Suge Knight. But he
Cassandra, you can't start them. Don't start them, Cassandra, because they're on their way. D is on his way.
And when you think about how he rolled with Peter, think about Peter. Peter cut off somebody's ear. Peter cut you in the heartbeat. And that was Jesus's right-hand man. Yep. These were people from the streets. These were burly fishermen. This wasn't high society people. And so when we present that Jesus to people, they're like, well, wait a minute. I think maybe I could rock with this.
Yeah. He was Jesus' lieutenant. That's what he was.
But you know what?
String a bell.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not messing with y'all. God gonna get you. I'm not messing with y'all.
Too late. He already got us.
I got gasoline drills. I'm ready to go to hell.
I told you, I get pamphlets in the mail from jail. From hell. Sorry, my bad. From hell. They send me stuff all the time. They say, we're waiting for you, Rodney.
Yeah, man.
Well, I'll tell you this, Cassandra. I definitely appreciate your giftedness and your uniqueness. That's so important. I have a slogan. I care what people say, but much like yourself, not enough to be governed by it. And it's so important once you know who you are and what you're called to do. And I think God calls you to be who you are. That's right. One of the things that draws people, you know. And so I actually love it. And I appreciate life coaches. People don't realize, because right now we're in a time where people just need direction. You know, and sometimes you can lose your way. And I don't care how strong people feel they are. There are some moments where this thing, you know, I was thinking about it today. There is so much pressure. And I think what happens is some people become desensitized to it. But when you really think about it, you're up against a lot. It's a lot. People managing homes. Every man you see on the screen, with the exception of myself, these men are fathers and all these different things. It's a lot of pressure to manage today. And so for you to be able to take it and dump it somewhere, you got to alleviate it somewhere. you know. And so I think it's a blessing to be able to cast your cares upon the Lord, because he cares for you. And you have to put it somewhere, because if you don't, you will crack up and lose your mind.
You will lose your mind in this world. You will lose your mind. And people will test you. They'll send you to jail.
That's right.
To make you catch a case.
That's right. Absolutely. And it's good to laugh. It's okay to laugh.
Oh,
you know, for years, you know, like I said, I grew up in the Baptist church when I was a kid. And back then, I mean, there was nothing funny, and you couldn't say anything. You can't go here. You can't wear that, and you can't do that. And again, we were caught up in religiosity and not relationship. And so it makes a difference that you know, as the disciples told, Jesus told the disciples, if they're not against us, they're for us. That's you know, right. And that's the reality. So I value what you do, and to be an author is a lot, and that is certainly a blessing. So thank you for sharing with everything that you pour out and give to the world.
Author of many books. And Cassandra, before we go, do you have any last words of wisdom that you want to share with any young people, or just Black people in general? And with it, and that's right, you got the stroll, which you can find her books at, show website,
powerliving.com.
Yeah, she got a lot. These are only 3 books. Cassandra got a lot of books. This lady can write. I only got 2 hands. I can't hold all the books up. Cassandra got a lot of books, man. Oh, yeah.
CassandraMackMinistries.com for people who are listening as well. Maybe they can't see it.
Yeah, that's on. Yeah, that's on.
Yeah, they can go to CassandraMackMinistries.com. That is our ministry website, and then the corporate training website is Strategies for Empowered Living. But if they go to CassandraMackMinistries.com, they will get what they need. And so my closing words to anyone who's struggling, anyone who feels like they've lost their way, anyone who feels like, you know, life is just chaotic, you know, is to take it one day at a time. Do your best and take life one day at a time. When you think about the prayer that's commonly referred to as the Lord's Prayer, there's a line in that prayer that says, give us this day our daily bread. Not give us this week, not give us this month, not give us this year. Give us this day. Take it day by day and do the best you can to just show up for your life. That's all you can do, because tomorrow ain't promised to none of us.
You ain't lying about that.
That's right.
My last question, Cassandra, because I know you a hip hop head. You gotta give us your top 5.
You know what? My top 5 MCs, that's hard.
I know you. I know you're a hip hop head, so.
My top 5 MCs. Oh my goodness. Queen Latifah definitely is one.
People sleep on Queen.
People
sleep on her lyrics. Queen is nice.
Yeah, they do.
Lauryn Hill's another one. I'm gonna give you my females.
Okay,
that's
fine, we need that. That's what we need. Yeah.
Come on, say my girl.
Who's your girl? Who's your girl?
What?
MC Light.
MC Light. Okay, MC Light. MC Light. MC Light.
Want to bumble with the B, huh? No,
Run DMC.
Okay.
I like Run DMC. And KRS-One.
Okay.
What's up?
Okay, I give you that.
That's rock solid. Yeah.
That's a solid 5. That's a solid 5. Go against a lot of people with that 5. That's a solid 5. Yeah. So my sister, I love you so much. You know how much I care for you. You know, my heart is. You know how it is. We've been tight for a long time. Thank you for coming on again. Thank you for giving us a lot of wisdom, knowledge, and light, and peace. That's what we needed. We needed a voice of peace, mind peace at that. So we truly appreciate you, my sister.
I truly appreciate the privilege of being on your show today. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, love. All right.
Cassandra, it was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure.
God bless you, man.
Bless you, sister. Bless you. Peace. Yo. What's up? If you like what you're seeing from the 4 brothers here, give us a thumbs up. Like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay notified when we go live and post new content. Thank you for the support.